Hello, welcome to Nuggets of Gold. I am Thomas Gold, and what we do here at Nuggets of Gold is we flip through our memory verse packet. I find a verse, whatever verse we flop open to, I read it. I have not prepared, I have not selected a card ahead of time. So I read the verse, I pray on the verse, and then I share whatever it is that the Lord leads me to observe about the verse in order to try to stir up my affections for holy things and help you stir up your affections for holy things as well. So let's see, what did I flop to while I was talking to you? It is Colossians 3:23 and 24. Colossians 3:23 and 24. Fantastic verses. Do I say that every time? I don't know if I say that every time. These are particularly meaningful. These helped me as a young Christian understand how to keep my life rooted in the right priorities. Let's hear these together. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. Well, we've got a little bit of a coincidence going on here. Our last nugget focused on laziness and productivity. And here we have a verse from the New Testament lifting the meaning of our work up into a vertical thinking about honoring Jesus with the way we work. Let me read it again, then we'll pause. It says, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. Let's pause and think on it and come back, spend a couple minutes unpacking. Sometimes my kids roll their eyes because I connect every discussion and every frustration in their lives and every piece of their day back to the Lord. They roll their eyes and they'll say, Dad, that's not what I'm talking about. I don't want to hear about a God thing right now. I just want you to help me with my homework. I just want you to help me with my mean sister. I just wanted to play a game. Dad, I didn't want to do a God thing. And for me, God is so glorious in part, or it's a one reason God is so glorious. God is so wonderful as a friend, as a savior, as a helper, is because God cares and God intersects with every piece of our life. And that's what Paul comes to in Colossians 3. He's working through Colossians 3 and he's applying different ways that knowing Jesus, yielding our life to Jesus infiltrates everything. In the first parts of Colossians 3, he talks about the things that we need to get rid of out of our life because of who Jesus is. And then he moves on to say, here's the things we want to try to build into our character and grow in because Jesus is a part of our life. And then at the end of the chapter, Paul gets to these kind of summary statements like we have here. Whatever you do, whether it's homework, whether it's sibling rivalry, or whether it's playing games on the living room floor, whatever you do, work heartily for the Lord and not for men. And I think specifically here, Paul is referring to our labor. So I say all that to remind you today, God cares about you at work. God sees your heart at work. And how you work is a way that you worship him or a way that you fail to worship him. Whatever work you do, the verse says, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. Well, why should I do a hard day's work if the other people around me aren't doing a hard day's work? Or I hate going to this job because of the way that the people act and the way the people talk and the unfairness in the system that I'm in. And Paul pulls it back to say, okay, you might not have the best job. We may not have a fair job. We may not have our dream job. But you can go to work today and know that God is invested in how you do, what your heart attitude is. You can worship God even at a stinky job. You can worship God at a super job based on how you work. It says work heartily. Put your heart into it. Do your best. And the reason to do your best is because you know that God's reward is coming. Maybe you're not paid fairly, maybe you are paid fairly, but your reward is God's pleasure. Your reward is heaven. And so you can go to work today, no matter what your work situation, and you can work for the Lord. Let Jesus be your boss today. Maybe you have a boss who reflects Jesus. Maybe you don't have a boss who reflects Jesus. You can work for Jesus today. That's the last line in verse 24. You are serving the Lord Christ. So let God infiltrate all parts of your day today, including your labor, whether you're a student studying or whether you're a worker working. Let God infiltrate and serve Jesus with where he has you today. We'll see you again next time.